Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another BigChange webinar. Today, we are going to be talking to you about how you could administrate your BigChange system like a pro. My name's Jonathan. I'm Product Marketing Manager here at BigChange. I'm joined by Rizwan and Jessica from our Road Crew Customer Support team. Morning, guys. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Very excited.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I will be going through the admin webinar, so stay tuned in.
Excellent. So this webinar is open to customers as well as people who may well be considering joining BigChange. So if you are a customer at the moment, please bear with us for a few moments whilst we talk to the people who are not members of the BigChange community yet. And we're going to just briefly summarize what BigChange is to you. So BigChange is a job management software platform, and we combine various different elements of business functions into one simple system that allows you and your business to remain unstoppable. For one monthly fee, we provide you with job scheduling, tracking, CRM, job finance, business intelligence, a mobile application, plus many, many more features and functionality. Each month, our system continues to grow as we add new functionality to it. But today, we are going to be looking at how you can administrate that system. You don't just need to take our word for it. We are trusted by over 2,000 companies across the entire planet, from Europe, Americas, and Asia Pacific. And on screen are some of the companies that you may recognize. Towards the end of the slide, towards the end of the presentation, even we will show some QR codes. So you may well want to keep your phone handy so that you can scan those QR codes and be taken to the relevant resources. All of these slides, as well as the recording, will be available on our YouTube channel as soon as possible after this recording. So if you aren't subscribed, head over to youtube.com/BigChange, hit the subscribe button, be sure to hit the little bell notification as well, and you will be notified when this video and other videos go live. If you are watching this on catch-up and you like what you see, please do give us a thumbs up. It really does make all of the difference. So I'm going to hand over to Jessica and Rizwan in a second. The questions are open, so if you have any questions, do drop them into the Q&A section. It's towards the top of your Microsoft Teams meeting. We will do our best to help. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing now and hand over to Jess and Rizwan.
You may be aware of me and Rizwan. We both work within the Road Crew team. We just want to say a big thank you for joining with us today and being part of the event. So a quick overview of what we're going to do. So we appreciate that a lot of you guys will have administrative roles or responsibilities within your business, and there's many great features in the system that we want to make you aware of and just make sure that you're utilising them to the best of your ability. They're there to be used. We want to make sure that you know that they're there and how to use them. So a quick overview. As you can see, there was a survey that we sent out and we asked many questions as to what wanted to be covered. And the main topics that we found out about were the automations, the entity data fix, the user events, and the forms. So we're going to give you a breakdown of all of those in today's session. So just moving on to some interesting facts with Rizwan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Jessica. First up, we have a set of interesting facts. Very first one is how many active automations do we have across all sites? Just to put this into perspective, this is kind of in regards to live automations that are set up across all customer sites. And as of 5th of September, when we ran the query, we got a value of 1,837 active automations, which is once again truly a remarkable figure. And hopefully after this very session, we'll see a rise in the number of automations. Next up, we have how many times the admin tab is accessed per day on average. We have a value of 8,000 times on average the admin tab is accessed per day. Next up, we have a number of customers who have used the entity data fix tool. Now, it's definitely a powerful tool that I would definitely recommend if it does come to that. In terms of the values, we have 294 customers that have used it nearly 11,000 times. So they've obviously seen the value of the entity data fix tool and are constantly using it wherever they feel appropriate. Number of tickets related to admin section in the last 12 months. We have a number of 3,000 plus tickets. It's a very popular section, can kind of get interesting in terms of its intricacies, and we have called up regarding that, kind of ensuring that the system is used to its absolute full potential, and that's why the tickets are logged, kind of make sure I'm kind of successful in its query. Lastly, we have the user events that have been recorded all time. As you can imagine, user events store valuable information ranging from logging into the system, deleting financial documents, jobs, and so on. And as a result, that's recorded over 1 billion events. And of course, we expect that number to increment day by day.
Thank you. So the first thing we're going to go over is the automations. So within our BigChange system, we have 3 fabulous automation options. So you've got the Job Watch automations, which sends data to another part of the system. We have the HTTP automations, which uses a URL link to send data to an external HTTP. And we have the option to do an SMS automation, which, as you can guess, sends an SMS message. In today's example, we will just be going through the Job Watch automation, as that's one that we think is very accessible for all businesses and all companies. But if you are interested in the other 2 options, please do let us know, and that is absolutely something that we can get set up for you. So just a quick breakdown here of an example. So what is an automation? So here at BigChange, we know that time is money, and we are all about saving you as much time as possible. Therefore, we've decided that there should be an option in the system to automatically set things up so that it saves you and your business and your employees time. We don't want you to be sat doing daily tasks that are quite quick and simple and can be automated. So we've got this option on here to do just that. So in this example, you can see on the first page, we've selected the automation type, and it's the Job Watch automation. On your right-hand side, you can see the trigger. So this is what is going to cause that automation to run. So you've got on here, it's any job, and the what of that job is has its status changed to completed. Now, the fabulous thing about this is it is bespoke to your business. So if you have a status option for a job where you can do completed with issues, you can say completed with issues, not access the site, anything like that, you can choose one of those status options in here. And then the bottom picture is the mapping. So what this automation is going to do for you. So this example we have is adding a flag to a job. You can see on the bottom side of that picture, you've got your mandatory fields and sort of the data to trigger and what you're going to create and update. On the left-hand side, the data to trigger, we've got a number on there, which is an ID from the site, which Rizwan will go into detail for you to tell you exactly how you find those. The second option is a keyword, which is the job ID, and that is pulled using our keywords from within the system. You might have used these before if you've set up a template. The right-hand side, you've got the data created or updated. So this is basically what that is. What is it that you're updating or changing? So the top one is the flag ID. So that number that we've given the system is the flag that you are going to add to that job. And then the job ID is obviously the job that you want to update. So what I'll do now is pass on to Rizwan. He's going to show you exactly how we do this in with the system and all the different options that we've got.
Thank you very much for that, Jessica. What we're going to do is go into the automation section in the back office to get to this part of the system. We want to go into My Account, Administration, into Account on the left, and Automation. So the very first UI, you'll see a list of automations that have been set up on the site. As you can see, I've set up a few myself. This is exactly how it will show on the UI itself. Going into the automation, we want to select the automation itself and select Edit. First up, we have a description. We want to apply the automation with a meaningful description to kind of always refer back to that specific link. We want to select the option for service to send data to Job Watch. Post via HTTP is something that we potentially look to cover in a future session, but this is more to do with API web service calls and making calls to a different application for actions and triggers to be met. In this specific session, we'll be focusing more on the Job Watch service to send data to. Going on to the next box, we have the trigger filters that need to be met. So this is essentially the conditions or the parameters, you could say, that needs to be met in order for the automations to trigger. In this very example, we've got any job of a specific type, and when its status is changed to completed with a specific result, you can always narrow that down further. The trigger filter is more to kind of narrow down the specific automation and the specific trigger. You can always include when a job is completed against a specific contact, or when a job is completed with a specific result, or a positive result, or a negative result. For that matter, you just want to kind of include that information as a keyword. So you simply select the keyword in question, select, in this occasion, it'll be contact name, but as you can see, we have a plethora of options to kind of select from. And then you map that data across to the right-hand side of the page. And in this situation, we want to map the data for BigChange. So when a job of type boiler installation is completed and the contact name is equal to BigChange, that's when we want to kind of create the function to call, which is set on the very next page. You can always add specific, more additional filters. You can include more specific operands to kind of give you more flexibility in terms of the automation you'd like it to run. If you feel like you want to remove those specific filters and you don't need them, you can always delete them as and when you wish. Going on to the next tab itself, this is essentially the field mapping, where you can specify the specifics of the automation, whether that's delay in seconds, and the function to call itself. So in this very example, we've got a function to call add a flag to a job. And as you can see with a list of the function to call and its possibilities, we have create a job, cancel a job, unschedule a job. And when you look into the specifics of each of those functions, you can really extrapolate that out to the part of the system and kind of make sure it automates the whole processes. So once you've got a gist of how the automation works, you can really expand that out to parts of the system. The user for integration is more to do with the web user section that's created within the web user. So this is a specific user for integration that has been set up. This is the 6-digit ID my colleague Jessica was referring to. This is the ID number that's stored within the entity. So each of the entities on the system, they're stored within the database and they are referred to with a specific ID. So what we want to do to retrieve this information, we want to go to the specific part of the system, find the job flag itself, hover over the flag, select the specific keys to return the ID. So to go into the job flag section, potentially a page you're all familiar with, most of you are familiar with, within the job flag section, hover over the relevant ID, select the keys Shift, Control, Alt, and click on the specific flag, in which case you'll get a prompt for the specific ID, and that's essentially the data that we want to call for the automation to trigger. So what that's saying now is when that entity, when that trigger has been met, you want the flag of this ID to be mapped across to the job to add that flag across. Job ID is another mandatory field which needs to be included. Now these fields, they will depend and vary on the function to call. So if it's creating a note upon a job, you'd expect the note ID to be added, or you'd expect the contact ID to be added to kind of give the system an idea as to where specifically the automation should trigger. So putting that into perspective, when the automation does run and when the job does get completed, we're able to see any results via the view logs section. So here you'll have a list of results that have been made in the past, well, since when the automation was triggered and created. Select the very recent one, we can go into details. So essentially, a set of information here, the date as to when the automation triggered, the status as to when, the status as to if the success message went through successfully or not. Status 200 usually refers to a success status. Trigger identity in terms of the job itself, and then the impacted entity when the flag has been successfully added to the job. So just bring that into perspective. Just going through the trigger filters, the contact name is BigChange, the job type is boiler installation, the job is completed, and it's completed with a positive result. And then within the activity tab, within the job flags, we're able to see a created flag assigned to the job. And that kind of automates the processes for the admin users. You're able to see individually which jobs are ready to invoice, in which case you can simply go into document, Once again, I mentioned you can extrapolate that out. You can add service reminders to a job upon completion. You can add some form of a customer survey upon job completion, whether that's completed with issues, whether you just want to log that information, and you can kind of attain that information through reporting as well to get more information on that. Just completing this, you have a URL section of what the web service call runs, and finally the response to say this is a success one. With regards to an error message, you'll specifically get the error to say what specifically the error is for you to overcome that. Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So the next thing that we're going to move on to is the entity data fix. So the entity data fix is a great tool to reverse anything accidentally raised against the wrong contact or site. So you can use it to either change the contact for a job, a note, or a financial document. And it can also be used on the system to merge contacts. So if you've got, say, for example, 2 duplicate contacts and jobs have been raised against both of them, you only want one contact, but you don't want to lose any jobs or any financial documents, you can use the contact merge to merge them into one. So it will move all of the jobs or the documents and notes across to one contact, and it will then leave the duplicate contact blank, where you can then go ahead and delete if you wish. So we'll just go through this quickly in a breakdown. So this is where you can see it in the system. So I've highlighted the job, the note, and the financial document because these 3 functions are pretty much the same. When you select one of these options, the first thing it will ask you for is a reference. So just to show you here, we've got an example of a job reference, a note reference, and a financial document reference. Now, these you will need to be able to do the entity data fix. If you have a document or a job that doesn't have a reference against it, you can go in, add a reference, use that reference to change the information, and then remove that reference. That's not a problem. So when you update these, it will simply give you the option to change the contact to a different contact. Now, the contact merge is a little bit different in that there's certain things we need to make sure we follow and processes we do. So the first thing is this is a little pop-up reminder for you. This is on the screen, but we just want to make people aware that when you do a contact merge, it hasn't been accepted or merged until you view the contacts using the eye icon. And as you can see here, this is just a little screenshot of what we mean. So when you pick your contact from and to, you've got to make sure that you view those contacts and the system has acknowledged that you viewed them. It's just a safety precaution, just so that we know that you definitely want to move it from that contact to another, get you to double check that contact so that we don't have any problems if accidentally it's the wrong address or it's just a slightly different name. So what I will do is pass on to Rizwan, who's going to quickly show you an example in the system.
Thank you for that, Jessica. Just to kind of implement the entity data fix, once again, access through the back office, my account, administration, into account and entity data fix. Just get that through. So what we want to do is select the type as to what we want to correct or fix or amend for that matter. You have job, you have note, financial document, contact merge. The concept of the first 3, the job, note, and financial document, are very similar. All they require is a job reference, which can be implemented, and then you can change the contact that was raised against the job, the note, and the financial document. If it was raised in error or if it was raised accidentally against different contact, you can kind of fix that, amend that through an entity data fix. Applying contact merge is slightly a different concept. What we want to do is search for the contact in question where you feel like you've raised the jobs against an incorrect contact, or you feel like the contact should be merged across to its sister company or a different company. You can use the contact merge tool, and that's a powerful tool to kind of overcome that. We want to select the contact merge type. We want to put in the reference for the contact or the name of the contact for that matter. So we've typed in Spencer. We've realized that the jobs raised against Spencer Palmer, they should have been raised against Mrs. Morgan Spencer. So we've searched for the contact in question. We want to clarify which one's the from, in which case Mr. Spencer Palmer is the from, and the to, which is Mrs. Morgan Spencer. We want to acknowledge that we've viewed and accepted the contacts, and that's kind of prompted by this message here. So we want to go into the eye of the contact. Ensure this is the correct contact. So we want to go through the tabs, ensure, yeah, these are the jobs that are raised against the incorrect contact. These are the financial documents that are raised against the contact. And these are the notes. And so we want to apply the same for Mrs. Morgan Spencer. These are where the entities should be directing towards. As you can see, jobs, financial, they all appear to be empty as of yet. After the entity data fix is complete, you obviously see those entities move across. And lastly, further below, these are just a set of options that are set to include, and you want to tick wherever it kind of applies necessary to kind of make sure you want to select the merge entities option, in which case you get a prompt, or just a heads up to say, are you sure you want to merge across? Then you get the prompt to say that this is being made, or the changes are being made in the background. So we just want to kind of refresh the screen, give that a few times for the system to accept and for the system to kind of generate the responses. And then very shortly, you will be able to see jobs that have been created and linked to the contact. So as you can see, they've now moved across to Mrs. Morgan Spencer, financial documents, and whichever other entities in this instance it was not as well. So once again, a very powerful tool if you feel like you've made an error and you need that to be moving across.
Yeah, fabulous, thank you. So the next section that we are going to be looking at is the user events. So here at BigChange, we are really big on diving deep. We want to know as much information as possible. If customers do have a query or something that they want to get fixed, we want to make sure we've got all the information there so that we can help and get that sorted. We also wanted to give that ability to our customers. We have a lot of instances where something's happened on the system or on the site, and they want to find out who's done it or when it was done and who by. And so the user events is a great way to give you that access. So the idea of the user events is it allows you to see successful logins and logouts. It allows you to see a failed login. You can also see data subject access request. You can see when an item was created or scheduled. So for example, you can see when jobs are created, when jobs are scheduled. You can also see exports and imports on there and any updated items. So if a contact has been updated, if a contact has been deleted, you can see that. You can also see that for a job, for a resource, or for a note or financial document. There's many different things that the user events can be used for. So as you can see, like I said, it displays changes, but it also has a great feature in that you can restore deleted entities. We have a few instances where customers have called in and said, I've accidentally deleted this contact, I need to keep them. Is there any way that I can get that record of that contact back? There absolutely is. If it's in the user events, then you can restore it. And we decided to make you aware of this because we feel that if you know that this system and this accessibility is here and within our site, then it means that you can go ahead and do this yourself. You don't have to call into Road Crew and rely on us. It's there, so you can freely use that however you need. So just a quick example here. So for the user events, they do go back 4 months. Obviously, the data that the user events holds is very wide and very vast. There's all types of web users, all types of entities, and almost all actions on there. So there is a restriction to the data that it holds, but 4 months we've found is a fabulous time frame that allows people to keep a monitor on their system and also check things if they notice that there's any differences on the site. So as you can see from here, you can set a date range for your filters. You can also filter via web user. If you know the person that has changed the entity or updated the data, you can filter using them. You can also filter your entity type, which is, for example, your job, your note, your financial document. Then your action is what's happened to that data. Has it been cancelled? Has it been deleted, updated? And a great feature as well that we have is if you know exactly what job has been changed or document's been changed, if it has a reference number, you can search for that, and that will help to just filter down that list a little bit easier for you, so you're not having to search through a load of data. So looking on the right hand side, you can see an example of a search that we've done. So it will tell you a timestamp and a date stamp of when it was done. It will tell you the action. So if it was updated, deleted, created, it will tell you what entity it is. So as you can see on here, we've got job entities. And then another fabulous example that you can see on the picture on the right is that you can actually export user events. So it's a great way if you need a report of, say, for example, you're looking at your jobs and you want to know how many times jobs are being updated once they're added onto the system. You want to be a bit more time efficient. You want to try and get your staff to add a job and not have to update it or change it. If you want a report of that to try and pull some figures, this is an excellent way to do that. You can simply set a date range, you can set the entity type as job, the action as updated, and you can do a filter of how many times jobs were updated on the site within a certain time frame. And then you can export that out and put that into Excel or any other format that's easier for you to view, or create a report for yourselves. So just looking at the bottom picture, this is what will happen when you click into the user event. So it doesn't just give you that filter, it also does give you a little bit more detail. If something was updated, it will tell you what's been updated. So you click into it and it opens up a page like this, and you can see on the bottom screenshot, the section that is greyed out and crossed out is the information that has been either overwritten or removed. The section that is highlighted green is what it's been replaced with. So we can see here a job description has been updated. It used to say something else, it now says this. And this is a fabulous way as well if you have a job or a note that you've edited and you've realised, oh, it's wiped some data, or I've accidentally removed some data. Instead of having to try and remember what it was, you can simply come back to the user events, copy the grayed out section, and it will actually paste over as normal text. It won't have a line through it. You can just copy and paste from there. And then also you have the option to open the job from the user event. So if you wanted to see it and you've seen it's been updated and you're thinking, I wonder what job that is, or what date it's for, or what resource it's assigned to, you can simply click on the little eye icon and it will open that job up for you. So what I'll do now is I'll let Rizwan take control, and he's going to do a quick demonstration of how we can restore things using the user events.
Thank you for that, Jessica. The user events can be accessed through once again in the account settings, account and user events. You get a set of filters that you can apply if you have an idea as to when a document, let's say, was deleted. You can filter specifically for that day and that time frame. You can filter down further if you know who the web user was. If you weren't, that's fine. You can filter down for a specific entity type, whether that's a financial document or a job. And then you can filter down for a specific action. So what we're going to try to find is a deleted financial document, deleted potentially in error. And we want to retrieve that document from the user event. So you get a date and time as to when the document was deleted. The web user in terms of who was logged into the system at the time and carried out the action. The action itself says deleted, and then you get a prompt and a confirmation to say this was the reference in question. When selecting the event, you have the option to restore here. So what we'll be able to see shortly is a newly created event for a financial document that has been restored, and that's invoice 002. That's now been restored, and there's the confirmation to say that's successfully been restored. We're also able to see any form of changes that were recorded within a job. As you remember, we've just done an entity data fix. That obviously gets recorded within here. We're able to see updated job events. Selecting on each one of them events, we're able to view the changes, and then it gives a prompt as to what the contact was changed. And we obviously changed it from Mr. Spencer Palmer to the Mrs. Morgan Spencer, and that's effectively the user event. And it's a very powerful tool to kind of track back any information that gets recorded within the system. That's just the UI side of it. Jessica touched upon the option to export. This is very much the button here to get that in an Excel sheet for a more standardized format, and you can always make changes, amendment to that sheet required.
Fabulous, thank you. So the next section that we're going to look at is we're going to be looking at the Forms tab within Admin. We're breaking this up into two slightly different sections just because we feel that the area that they touch upon are a little bit different. So we wanted to give time to each one. So the first two options we're going to be looking at is the timesheet activities and the timesheet worksheets. So the great fact about the activities is that it allows you to track your resources' working hours and help you monitor their working day. We appreciate that as admins, you'll have a lot of responsibility to make sure that working hours are being followed and that pay and everything is correct. And a great way to monitor that is using the timesheet activities. When the resources log into the JobWatch app, they click to start their day and you can see exactly what time they started and when they ended or when they went for lunch. Now, we also have worksheets, which is a feature that we believe can be utilised quite significantly in a company. It allows you to keep track of any data or information that is needed to keep a record of like breaks or expenses or daily tasks. So a fabulous example of using the worksheets is if you have resources that have stock on their van or with them day to day, and you need them to do a stock check every single morning to make sure that you know what stock they do and don't have, to keep a track of any missing stock or any misplaced stock. A great way to do this is to add an activity to remind them and give them a prompt to make sure that they do it, but also adding a worksheet to it allows you to notify your back office staff if there is any issues or if there is any changes to their stock. You can create a worksheet. You can have a question on there that says, have you got all the stock that you need for today? And you can set a question at risk. If they answer no, you can then use that to create an alert, which will notify someone in the back office, allowing you to keep track of the information. So just a quick breakdown for you. So your timesheet activities, this is what they look like within the system. So like I said, you've got your basic, which is your start work and your end work, but you can add any activity you want, and you can choose to add a worksheet to it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's an option there to utilise. And then the worksheets themselves, if you have done a job type worksheet, which I'm aware a lot of you having admin roles might be familiar with this, the great thing about it is it's exactly the same format. We want to keep things simple for you here at BigChange, so we haven't overcomplicated it. It's the exact same format as a job type worksheet. You've got very similar question options. You've got your yes, no, your cost, your decimal, whole numbers, text, statements, everything that you'll see in a job type. And then, as I mentioned, you've also got the option to do an at-risk question. So like we said, if you need to be notified if something's been done or not, you can use that ability to then create an alert to notify your back office staff. And then another fabulous thing about the worksheets is like the job type worksheet, you can set a completion time for it for the resource, which means that if they do start an activity like a stock check and then they want to try and complete it, if you set the completion time for the worksheet to before completing that activity, it means that they will have to fill it out, so they can't skip it or they can't miss it or anything like that. So Rizwan's just going to quickly show you where these are located and how you can view them from the front end in the back office.
Jessica, so this can be accessed through the timesheet activities within the Forms tab. You just want to select the relevant resource group in question we want to kind of apply the timesheet activities for. By default, you have a set of predefined activities. They're the start work, end work activities. We've just added a few here regarding lunch. You can make that more specific or resource group specific if they're kind of live within a specific group. All you need to do is simply select the add icon, include the name, and if required, set a worksheet against the activity. So when the resources, they select the activity on the device, they prompt, and it prompts a worksheet for them to be completed, which can then be recorded in the back office, which I'll kind of walk through as well. Just ensure to select the send icon once the activities have been ended, and very shortly they should come through to the resources and on their devices. Timesheet worksheets, once again, follows a very similar format as to the standard worksheets within the schedule worksheets tab. Here we've set up a worksheet which kind of includes, once again, a very similar format, set of questions, set of answers, and it's branching as you wish. So where this information gets recorded, you'll be able to go into the fleet and resources section. Within Fleet and Resources, you can go into the Resources tab, search the resource in question, go into the Timesheet tab, and then here we'll be able to see recorded activities that have been set up by the resource and what they've selected on their device. You'll be able to see the activities, but even further than that, you're able to select into the activities and where there's been worksheets assigned, where there's worksheets that have been completed. That also gets recorded within the timesheet activity. And as Jessica mentioned, you can set up some form of at-risk answers via alerts to notify back office team if and when a timesheet activity has been selected. Just finally on that, you're able to see the reporting sign of that going into the timesheet report. You want to view the timesheet and kind of set a specific date as to when you'd want timesheet activities to be displayed. Go ahead and view that, and you'll be able to see a list of resources where they've selected timesheet activities, the duration and location, if possible, as to when they've carried out the activities. Export that information into more of a standardized format through PDF or Excel. And then additionally, you can schedule the reports, whether it's a recurrence for a weekly, monthly, daily, as to when you actually want the information.
So the final section that we will be looking at on here is the imports for the forms. So we've got the file library, the import-export blueprints, and imports themselves. So looking at the sections that we've got in there, so the file library itself is used to upload documents for your resources to use and access on the JobWatch app. So we know that sometimes you'll have business-specific details that need to be noted or information that the resources need on hand. Instead of asking them to print it out and carry copies with them everywhere, you've got the option in our system to actually upload those and have them there and quick and easy for them to click into and read and find and not lose, because it will always be within the JobWatch app. Now, the import and export blueprints is not exactly a blueprint in the way that you might think of it. We're not looking at any design plans. Nobody's building any buildings. It's not a problem. We're simply looking at a plan for an import or an export. So it's the data that you are wanting to either add into the system or take from it. Now, a lot of you might be aware that there's lots of opportunities to export data from our system. Essentially, the CRM is a big place where a lot of customers use to export. However, that export option will export everything out from the system that is on that page. And sometimes we understand that you don't need all that information. You only need select pieces. So we've got the opportunity here to create a specific blueprint for your company that will pull the information that only you want, that you ask for. And it just allows you to tailor the export to yourself. It's customer specific and it's a bit more custom made for you. And then the imports themselves, as many of you will be aware, you can do imports in our system. Fabulous way to save that little bit of time. Instead of adding multiple jobs individually, you can import them in at one go. But we just wanted to give you a quick breakdown and some little top tips with those. So I'll move on to the next slide. So this is obviously the Forms tab that you can see, and it is simply just below the timesheet activities and worksheets that we've been talking about. So the file library that we wanted to make you aware of is you've got two options with this. So when you go to add a document, you can either add it into the file library, which just adds it to a page in the JobWatch app, and it allows the resources to sift through that library, read whatever documents they want, or find a document they need to use. However, we realise that sometimes you might have multiple documents, and sometimes you might have a job type that only requires one specific document. And again, we're all about saving that time, saving that money. We don't want your resources sat at a job site, sifting through the file library, looking for a document. So what we have done is we've got the option to have a view file question type. So this is set up when you create a worksheet for a job type specific. You can actually add the option to get the resource to look at a file, and you can link that file using this option within the file library. So you'll select that question type as the worksheet, and then it will use this question that you have set up in the file library itself. So it means that instead of asking that resource to go into the file library themselves and find that document document, you can actually provide that document to them within that worksheet. So they're not having to go searching for it, it's there for them to use. So the next section is the blueprints. So like I said, it's less to do with building and more to do with creating what you want. So on here, we've got a quick example of a job export. Now the blueprints as well, fabulous feature is they can actually be used as an import-export file. So they can be used for just an export, just an import, or for both. And you can set these up for different types. So it can be for jobs, it can be for contacts, it can be many different options, which Rizwan will be able to show you in the live demonstration. Just a quick example on here of some of the data that you can pick and choose from. So like we said, you can tailor it to what you need. If you don't need the planned start time, you don't need to have it in there, you can pick and choose, but it just gives you the option to select a certain amount of data that you want to retrieve from the system, and then similarly you can use that as well to export it, and if you only want to export in certain information, you can do just that. So then the imports themselves, as you can see, this is an example of an import that we have under the Forms tab. So it might be something that you're all quite aware with. We just wanted to make you additionally aware of the templates that we've got for the imports. So we appreciate sometimes when customers are trying an import for the first time, they're not quite aware of what data they need to use or what data they can use. We will always have a template for an import option, and you can see that just under the description of what the import is for, you've got the download template option, and that's a fabulous feature that allows you to create the Excel file to import it in. It doesn't mean that you have to search for what information you need or you're not sure on what information the system requires to do an import. It's all there for you and it's all broken down. This screenshot here is as well just to quickly show you the example of a completed import. This is what it will look like. This is a great way, other than the user events, it's a fabulous way of monitoring and tracking things. If you notice there's a lot of jobs that have been added recently and you're thinking, I wonder where they've come from, you can always check the import tab, see what import was done using the name of the import itself, the file that's been used. You can see who imported it, at what time and what date. So just again, going through the imports template. So this is what it looks like when you download that template. And we always suggest to enable editing. The reason why we suggest to enable editing is it then allows you to use our little tool that we've added on there, which is you'll see these tiny little red triangles in the top right corner of every box. We appreciate this template is fabulous, but it might sometimes need a bit of explaining. So we've got that on there. We've added it in so that anytime you look at a piece of data and you read that and you think, I'm not too sure what it's asking for, or if I need it, if it's an absolute to do an import, this will break it down for you. Simply hover over the triangle of the box that you're looking at. It will firstly tell you if it's optional or if it's required, and it will give you a little breakdown. So as you can see in the example here, we've hovered over job category in case we're not certain exactly what it means, and it simply is the category that that job lies in when you set it up in the back office. It also tells you that if the job type doesn't already exist on your site, it will create it when it does the import. So that's a fabulous a little sort of information that it gives you. So it gives you that for every single option. It will give you if it is optional or not, and a little bit of information on it. So Rizwan is going to be passed back to now for the final time, just to show you exactly where everything is in the system.
Jessica, so just building on from the forms section, this is where the blueprints can be used and accessed. We have a set of filters. If you want to filter down, if it's a long list of blueprints, you can filter it down for that. Purpose is to select add. If you want to import for a specific entity, you want to select the specific group, whether it's a job, contact, or a financial document. So this will just give you an idea as to what specific fields you want to include from the import itself. You select what specific the type is, whether it's an import or an export. It may well be you just want to export that information. So you just can select specific fields. You might just want the contact reference or the address, but you have a selection of fields to kind of pick from. Further above, you'll get an option as to which ones are mandatory and which ones are not. That will kind of be marked with an asterisk. So when that's been selected, you'll be kind of advised which ones have been selected as mandatory. And then when you download the template, as Jessica mentioned, you'll be able to see which ones are required or not. Finally, we have the Imports Hub, which is a newly implemented feature to kind of give you more of an idea as to what specific information to include in templates. So you can download the template, and as you can see, it's categorized into different sections of the site. When downloading the template, it'll be a very similar screenshot as to what you've seen in the slideshow. And you'll be able to see which ones are required, which ones are conditional, and which ones are not mandatory. When an import is successful, you'll get a success message like this, prompted with a green box advising that the import's completed, the file that was used at what specific date and time, and by which user. Very similarly, you'll have an error import. When an import obviously doesn't go to plan, you'll be provided with this message, and we'll get a more specific email advising you on how to fix that. So that's everything from the import section. Back to you, Jessica.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's me and Rizwan done. We just want to say a huge thank you for joining and spending some time with us today. I'm sure you'll hear from us again if you do give us a call on Road Crew. Do just let us know if there's any more administration areas that you want us to cover. And if you are interested in those automations that we mentioned at the beginning, please let us know and we'll be more than happy to get something sorted.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. I can see a lot of our attendees already reacting to this presentation. If you do want to give us an applaud or a heart, please do so. I am also going to launch a poll which has been put on screens now. Please do let us know how you think this webinar went, and it would be great to get any feedback. Please don't disappear just yet, however, because I am going to go through a couple of other slides which will be important to people who have been attending. And that is before we cover the questions which I've tried to answer as we go. So the first thing that we are going to be looking at is what is the cost of these particular items. If you are not a member of the BigChange family, you might be thinking all of these features that we have shown you are additional. They're not. They are included as part of the monthly fee which you pay for BigChange. Also, every single one of these features which we have shown are live now. There is nothing that is being waiting on release. They're live now, so you can start using them straight away, saving you time, saving you money. If there's anything that you want to see covered in administration that you haven't yet seen, please do either let us know in the chat or alternatively reach out to Road Crew or your success manager, and we will see what we can do. As part of your monthly subscription to BigChange, you also get access to the BigChange University. We have recordings, we have resources, we have slides, and we take care of the training of any new members that you may have to your company. You can scan the QR code to get to the university. If you're not signed up, head over to bcu.bigchange.com/new user, populate your details. It will ask for a password, and that is BC University 5. Again, all of that is available as part of your monthly subscription. So do head over to the BigChange University. This webinar was recorded, and one of the questions was, will this be made available? It will be. This recording will be made available definitely by the end of today. So if you're not already subscribed to our BigChange YouTube channel, why not? Head over to BigChange, youtube.com/BigChange, press the subscribe button, press the bell, and you will be notified when this webinar is uploaded. We also upload other really important content like the newsletter and interview with other big changers. So do subscribe and you won't regret it. I did drop into the chat a playlist of all of the webinars that we've uploaded to YouTube so far. This is available on demand, The Devil's in the Dashboard, a great webinar covering analytics and how all of the data which we capture in BigChange is brought to life. In addition to that, earlier this year, we did a webinar with 13 time-saving features to turbocharge your business. If you watch this on YouTube, we've put in chapter markers so you can quickly jump to the time-saving features that you like and have not used. Really powerful webinar, and suggest people head over to the YouTube channel to take a look at that. We also did a how to manage your vehicles like a pro. That is all about fleet management. So that is available on YouTube, and you can either scan the QR code to be taken to it directly or head over to our YouTube channel. The help site contains lots of written articles, so head over to help.bigchange.com if you need any support 24/7. Coming soon, we're going to be at the Elect Show in Exeter. So if that is your thing, do head over to West Point on the 27th and 28th. If you haven't got tickets, scan the QR code now and get free tickets. A sneak peek, early bird discount, so to speak, for a free event. We talked about the 13 time-saving features webinar. We are going to be doing part 2 of this. So on the 24th of October at 11 o'clock, we will be giving you 13 more time-saving features to turbocharge your business. We've not announced this yet, but if you scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen, you will be able to sign up before anyone else signs up. And yes, we will put the recording of this on our YouTube channel. Our August edition of the newsletter is out now. Scan the QR code, and we will later this month be publishing the September edition of the newsletter. The newsletter contains not just information about BigChange, but also allows a competition, or offers you a chance to win some amazing prizes. We've had BigChange hoodies, we've had drones, but next month, or this month's competition prize, is something very special, so you won't want to miss out on that competition. Speaking of competitions, this isn't a competition, but it's an opportunity for you to win win £250, no up to, per referral. Scan the QR code for more details on how to win that. That would come in time for Christmas, which I'm sure will be welcome. Finally, before I have a look at the Q&A section, thank you very much for everyone who has responded to the pop-up poll. Really appreciate that. If you have any more detailed comments, you can scan the QR code, which is on screen now. So I'm now going to quickly go over to the Q&As, which I've answered throughout. I'm just going to repeat the question and then the answer, mainly for the benefit of the recording, but stay around, because you may have had this question as well. So Mandy asked a question: can you add job categories to automation? It only has job types. So Mandy, that was a great question. Earlier in the webinar, Jess showed you how to set up job watch automations. So you could apply a filter category on that and then trigger off the job categories that you want to use. So yes, that is entirely possible to do. It does take a bit of tweaking, but you should be able to achieve that. James asked, will this seminar be available to view at any time? And yes, James, it is. It's going to be on our YouTube channel, and it will be put into the webinars playlist. Charlotte asked, there were a couple of automations that appeared to have been set up by road crew, and they were marked as active. Now, depending on where you are in your BigChange journey, these might have been set up on your behalf by the onboarding team, or they might have been set up by one of the customer success managers, depending on if you've asked for any support on that. But what I will do is I will investigate where they've come from and reach out and ask them to be in touch with you. Charlotte also asked that, or mentioned that the entity data fix doesn't appear on her account. I will be asking either Road Crew or CS to get in touch with you to understand why it's not visible to you, because it certainly should be. James asked, how long does it take to merge entities before you can delete the old records? It should be relatively quick, James, depending on how many items you're moving across. But if it's taking more than a minute or two, please do reach out to us and we'll see why it's taking so long. Mandy asked if there's anything that we can do if someone has duplicated a site, but you want to delete it, but can't because the jobs have been completed. We'd need to transfer over jobs to the correct site and the duplicated ones deleted. So we did show you the Entity Data Fix tool, and you can merge contacts, and that will move over the completed jobs. In terms of deleting jobs, you could actually use the list view to cancel down jobs en masse, and that would save repeating the same task time and time again, particularly if there are lots of jobs that you want to cancel down. I will endeavour to, in fact, we are asking your CS rep to reach out to you on another question that you raised, so I will pass that over to them as well. Rian asked, can you run a report on timesheet activities to use as timesheets? Yes, you should be able to see the timesheet activities within the timesheet report and then schedule that as you can with other reports that are available. As before, I will ask your CS manager to reach out to you to talk you through how to do that. Liam asked, rather than a daily timesheet, can I put lunch break only on each engineer's day that they can log in and out of? In order to use a timesheet activity, you do have to have a running timesheet. So yes, it only takes a second to start the timesheet, but then they can add as many activities as they want. Alternatively, if you're not going to use the timesheet for anything else, just use the timesheet for the lunch break, and then you'll start and stop. I'm not too keen on that because then if you start to do it later down the line, you've got to kind of change that behavior. But absolutely, you can certainly add the activity or achieve it in another way. Sean asked, is there a way of adding assistance to a job after it's been completed? So at the moment, that's not functionality that we offer, but it is something that I will feed back to the product managers to let them know that it is something that we want to see. Although you have added a follow-up saying, or sorry, Liam has added a follow-up saying potentially you could start the job again, add the assistant, and then complete the job. That might work. I haven't tried it, but I see no reason why it wouldn't work. But I haven't tried that myself. How can I, so Tracy has just added the question, how can I upload many project manuals at once to the file library? I can only seem to add them one at a time. Tracy, at the moment, we do only support one file at a time. The reason being is that we have to set visibility and add them to various different groups. But again, I will feed that back to the product manager for that particular area of the system so that it's something they can look into because it's something that you might be interested in. So that is every question that we have. I would like to thank you very much for joining the webinar. If there is anything that you would like to see that we haven't covered, like I said, please do reach out to Road Crew or your customer success manager, and we will do our very best to accommodate it. So on behalf of Rizwan and Jessica, we'd like to thank you for joining today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for your time. Take care.